Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this year's National Women's Event. My name is Yasmin Catz, and I'm the founder and executive director of ICON Israel Collaboration Network, which helps integrate Israeli entrepreneurs in the US markets. Today, we've come together to celebrate the important roles women have played in building a strong world and vibrant future. And nothing should make us more proud than our female trailblazers, the women of the IDF, who protect Israel's borders and its citizens. My own personal daughter is one of them, and I'm very proud. Located in the heart of the Middle East, whose strict beliefs and laws limit a woman's personal and professional opportunities, the state of Israel remains a shining light whose female population is the backbone of the thriving and prosperous country. In Israel, women are innovators, they're leaders, and they're warriors. The Israel Defense Forces stands out amongst the world's militaries for the high representation of women in its ranks. It is my distinct honor to introduce you to combat paramedic Lieutenant Reserves Noam, a true hero in every sense of the word.
My name is Noam Dan. I'm 25 years old. I'm a lieutenant and I serve in the training base of the medical corps. I was born and raised in Israel, in Dimona, which is in the southern part in Israel. Both of my parents serve in the IDF. My father was a paramedic in the special forces. Because of him, I wanted to be a paramedic too. My first experience as a paramedic was when I was in the armored battalion in the West Bank. In 2014, I was sent to Operation Protective Edge. I was one of the few women soldiers that get inside Gaza during this operation. I was in a tank and got a call from the Nahal Brigade, and they say that there is a wounded man, soldier, and we need to go there fast. When we got there, they shooting at us, we are shooting at them. It was tough. Nobody wants to die, so we smashed the house where the wounded soldier was. They pushed the stretcher into the tank, and I have 10 seconds to speak with the doctor that treated him, and he just said to me, I don't feel the pulse. This is the first time you realize this is not a game, this is an operation. And this is a soldier life. We started a CPR 25 minutes until we get to the border of Israel. It was very tough for me to stop. The wounded soldier died in my arms. I had to say goodbye to someone I don't even knew, but still I just lay with him and hugged him because his mother can't do that. A Jew like me, a soldier, he was protecting me and my family. And 1 minute after, I need to go back to the operation and say to every soldier that was in the tank, good job. It's the first time you see and treat a wounded soldier, and you were just great. Thank you, I love you, and now let's go. And we fight for 2 weeks. Knowing that FIDF supporters are thinking of us and care about us, and they worry about us, keep every soldier strong. It's a very touching feeling, and it warmed my heart.
The film you just saw highlights the toughest moment in my Army experience. This event happened early on in my service. After the Gaza war, I visited and met the mother of the soldier that died. When a mission like that is completed, every soldier is given a pin. I asked the soldier mother to do me the honor of putting the pin on me. This provided closure for both of us. Being a paramedic and a combat soldier come with this challenge in time of war and protecting our borders. My rule is to take care and always be alert. I took an oath that says, I swear my heart shall forever be engraved the supreme commandment of self-sacrifice, never to leave the wounded in the field. I have love and passion for medicine, and to be able to apply that to my military service is incredible for me. I have cared for 100 wounded soldiers, as well as hundreds of wounded Syrians. The IDF is an honorable and humanitarian army. We believe a life is a life, and we must do everything we can to save a life. It is my honor and privilege to be a part of an army that values life so highly. I'm only 27 years old, and I've already served in the West Bank, in Gaza, and along the border of Syria. Training 18 years old soldiers, preparing them to whatever situation comes next to protect Israel. I'm honored to be able to share my story with all of you female supporters of the IDF. Hope to see you next time you'll be here. Toda rabah, dear friends of the IDF.
Noam, toda rabah to you. Your courage and selflessness are applauded and admired. I'm thinking fondly of my days in the Israeli army with probably the most meaningful years of my life. Thank you for being with us today and for sharing the story. When looking at the numerous accomplishments that were born from the state of Israel, technological innovations is at the forefront of the lengthy list. Though our next guest needs no introduction, I'm going to give her one anyway. I'm honored to introduce you to our guest of honor. As an Israeli American whose parents are Holocaust survivors, Safra Catz's ties to the state of Israel run deep. I'm excited to welcome the CEO of Oracle Corporation, Safra Catz.
Hi, Yasmin, and hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. It's an honor.
It is an honor. When the Friends of IDF call, we come.
You bet.
So I have a lot of questions I want to talk to you about, and I know you have great stories for all of them, and I really hope we can put in the half hour we have all of those questions. I want to start with identity. We just heard from the amazing Noam. Like her, you were born in Israel, and that could have been you. Your parents moved to the US when you were 6 years old. If your parents stayed, we would have seen your video in the army. How do you think moving to America impacted who you are today?
Well, I think first, being born in Israel when, this was the 60s and the early 60s, and Israel of those days was really still a very young country in so many ways. And I will tell you that even those years, there was an optimism and a feeling that nothing is impossible. And I remember arriving in the United States and, I saw things I'd actually not seen before. There in the United States, there was television. Everyone had a telephone and a car. These are things we didn't have ourselves. In fact, our street in Rehovot was not even paved, okay? And to come to America was at that time a real difference. Now, of course, running between Israel and the United States is really an everyday affair. But for me to show up not knowing a word of English was kind of a tough little experience. And I was very, very nervous early on. I have to tell you, though, that the feeling that anything is possible, I brought that from Israel. And I brought that also from my parents. And coming to the United States, I really got a chance to do a lot of things that maybe early on in Israel weren't possible. I've gotten to live the American dream. Now what's nice is that in Israel, you can live the Israeli dream, and here you live the American dream, and they're basically interchangeable because so many great Israeli companies are the absolute leaders in their space. And that is just incredible.
That's amazing. In 1981, the Friends of IDF was founded by a group of Holocaust survivors to care for the well-being needs of the IDF soldiers. You are also a child of Holocaust survivors. Can you tell us how did being a second generation to the Holocaust impacted who you are?
Well, the reality is both my parents lived through the Holocaust in Eastern Europe. And what was incredible then is really all Holocaust survivors have an understanding of the importance of Israel. You see, if you live through the Holocaust, you see things that really many of us cannot even imagine. And without Israel, there was no place to run in those days. You had to live in the good graces of your host country. Now, being a daughter of Holocaust survivors, a lot of different things could have happened, but I can tell you one of the most important things, and I learned so many things from my parents, was an optimism and a feeling of really how lucky we are. My parents felt lucky to be alive. And every single thing I've ever gone through, I've ended up realizing how incredibly lucky. I mean, in my head is still a story my mother told when they were hiding in the woods, in the Ukrainian Polish woods with a group of partisans. She's a 4-year-old child, I think, and she had to decide, do I sleep in my coat? Do I sleep on my coat in the outdoors and wake up covered in snow? Or do I sleep under my coat and have my hair freeze to the ground? Okay, think about those kinds of decisions. And then when we here nowadays have to make business decisions and just daily life decisions, it gives you so much context and perspective. And, so how can you be afraid when your mother, was fearless as a child? And so I learned sort of all of these things from the terrible things my parents went through.
I think that's amazing, and it seems like this is something you take with you to your leadership style. What do you think makes a good CEO?
Well, I think it's very, very important to be aware of the fact that you are very, very lucky to have the people around you. I've tried very hard to be very transparent and very inclusive. Sometimes people probably get very tired of my stories because I want them to understand how I'm thinking, and I want them to correct me, to help me. I want us to be on a mission together, that it isn't about me or my title. It's not about any of those things. It's about our mission. And we're all very, very important in our mission. And I've always tried to select teams that, in my view, every individual member is better than me. They are better than me in their field. And maybe what I can bring is all of them together to collaborate and get a mission accomplished.
But Safra, this is not luck. You said, I feel I'm lucky. You might feel lucky, but this is the work. You put a lot of, you put your mind to that.
Yes. But believe me, I know that luck plays a part. If you have to be humble, you have no idea what can come and go and happen. To be born in Israel of 2 wonderful parents, to have a wonderful sister, husband, children. This is all, thank goodness, because look at this COVID-19, just out of nowhere, terrible things have happened. And, those of us, we should all recognize we're very lucky to have each other. And for me, yes, you don't get luck without a lot of hard work. Let me make sure that's clear. But you can blow all your luck if you're lazy and you don't work hard and you don't think about it. But there sure is a good piece of luck that I've received.
You spoke about your mom's tough decision about the coat and the snow. I wonder how do you, if you can share a story about a tough decision you had to make in your business career, in your life, and more than a decision, I'd love to understand, what's your methodology? How do you really take a decision when all the options are not ideal?
So I will reach back to a previous crisis that we had at Oracle in 2001. Some of your viewers will remember the internet bubble, of which Oracle was a huge beneficiary at the time. We were one of the 4 horsemen of the internet. And in 2001, a whole bunch of those horses got lame very, very quickly. And at this point, Larry Ellison was CEO, and I think I might have been president. We had to make a decision at that time. What are we going to do? How are we going to run the company when our new license revenue drops by 1/3? And so after about a year or so, I was holding a meeting with probably about 20 tables of 10. And we had made the decision, we're not going to make salary increases. We're not going to give bonuses. And I got almost immediately, when I was finally finished speaking, I got a question. Are we ever going to have bonuses again? I said, hold on. Next question. Are we going to get a salary increase? Now, we had decided no bonuses, no salary increases, 2 years for rank and file, 3 years for management, by the way. But what I did was I explained to the room, I said, look, each one of you is at a table of 10. And we know that the easy decision is to lay people off, and especially in research and development, because this is an area that it's not obvious to your customers for a couple of years. We made the decision instead, and ultimately in 2003, when the internet bubble implosion had faded away, we actually had 15% higher headcount in R&D, because we knew it was more important to keep everyone at the table and not fire one and all of us be missing that one at each table. So I explained to them, we could give you bonuses, we could give you raises, but all of you at every table, I want you to stay put, because we're going to need you, and we're going to need this team together when this is over. And those are the kinds of decisions where it's easy to say yes to when you're a manager. It's much harder to say no raise this year, or no bonus. But I had a view of, and Larry and I had a view of where we needed to be when this was going to end. And it was critical we continue to make those investments in the technology, in those people.
Were you afraid that maybe you're making the wrong decision? Was there any fear?
I have to say, if I inherited anything from Mommy, it's that woman was fearless. And I only hope I have 50% of her courage. 25% is probably plenty. So she was a real Eshet Chayil.
I want to talk about early career. You said early career decision. The idea of commanders like Noam that we heard from before, they become leaders really early on. I think I had the most responsibility, and I was just in all of my jobs altogether, and I was just 18. If you could go back in time, and I give you this time machine, you go back, you meet 18-year-old, 20-year-old Safra, what kind of a career advice do you want to give yourself?
Well, I won't go back that far, but I can tell you when I first started as an investment banker, this was the 80s, and women in investment banking were not a common thing. And I showed up on my first day of work dressed basically, other than the fact that I was wearing a skirt, I was dressed pretty much like a man. I had short hair, pretty short hair, and I had a shirt and a blue pinstriped skirt suit and a tie, a little bow tie. And what I thought I should do is try to look like the men, just fit in as much as possible. Now, this was pretty hard because at my tallest, I'm 5'4" at my tallest, okay? And I'm probably stretching. Many of these investment bankers were over 6 feet tall, many 6'4". And so I would be like chasing them along in my high heels, trying to fit in. What I learned then was that after a while, I realized, no, that's not, don't try to be what you're not. Really try to figure out what you really love, what you're really good at, and be that. Do that. Really, even if it's hard, do that. And of course, you just show up. You can't just be, what is the kids call it? Do you? You have to pay your dues. You have to do the work. You have to do as well as they do. You got to work as hard. But I probably didn't need all those blue and black pinstripe suits, and definitely none of those ties. So I probably would have given myself advice, because I was never going to be a 6'4" man.
And of course, it's not just about how you look and what you wear. It's about who you are. I think my daughter says, "Be yourself. Everyone else is taken." There's this thing, yeah. And I think it's a great advice. You spoke about the early 2000 crisis, and let's go and come forward and talk about this current crisis. And I'd love to hear, looking forward, what do you see as challenges and as opportunities?
Well, I think it's become very, very clear that the companies, in business, at least, the companies that use technology are the ones that are having an easier time. We ourselves moved to work from home, I would say almost overnight worldwide. And that was because we were using all the modern cloud technologies, Zoom, all the things that are possible. And what we saw is that this is going to hurry that trend along. So for people looking for careers, they have to understand the newest technology. And they also, most importantly, need to look at change as an opportunity. They shouldn't they shouldn't have change pushed upon them. They've got to look at how, whatever they're interested in, how change can actually be helping them and push them further, faster. In talking to other executives, many of them had been thinking about implementing some of these newer changes. One executive told me they'd been looking at this change for 5 years and were afraid to do it. Then they just did it immediately. And it was really, really critical to their success. So I think that this is another period. Now, the other thing I see, by the way, and we at Oracle are part of this, is you really do see the humanity in people. I see it in my employees. Everybody wants to be part of the fight to bring America back, bring Israel back, bring the whole planet back. And what I see is incredible technologies coming out faster than ever before, especially in Israel, by the way. So here in the United States, all over the world, but especially in Israel too.
I think, it's tradition, if people say that after every war in Israel, like the entire country got together behind something and people work together, it brings people together. That's true. But I'm curious, what do you think, is it going to stay like this? Will people ever go back to the office? What's going to happen to commercial real estate? I'm thinking, like, I don't have to live in Silicon Valley, which is really expensive now. I can live somewhere in the mountains and do the same. Are we going to be more global?
Well, I think one thing, listen, I don't know what will happen. So what I did recently is I started studying what happened in 1918. And what happened is the Roaring 20s afterwards, okay? And yes, we're going to do a lot more of these Zoom conferences, and it's actually brought a lot more proximity. I've talked to many, many executives. All of the CEOs are getting together. I talk to my own team much more face to face like this because of the new technology. But I think people still want to be together. We're very, very social. And I can honestly tell you that every time I've signed off of a Zoom call with an executive, a senior executive in another company, we kind of say, we look forward to having a real cup of coffee together. And so maybe we won't run around so much. Maybe we've always had quite a bit of work from home here at Oracle. We've had it really for years, and we offer a lot of this flexibility, but I can see that it's going to have an impact on some folks where we don't have to be in the office all the time. The technology is really here for us to collaborate more. But I can tell you, there's still joy in going to a restaurant and going to the movies even, and a lot of things. So the Roaring 20s followed 1918. I have a feeling we'll be seeing some of that.
That sounds fun. I'm looking forward to that. I'm thinking about this, like, not as you were speaking, that I wish every job could be done by Zoom. And I'm thinking like about the idea of soldiers. Maybe they can stay home and fight through Zoom. That would be a little safer.
That sure would be. I bet their mothers feel that way. That's for sure.
Yeah. Safra, you were one of the few women leaders in the tech sector. We have many young women looking at us, and they want to rise through the ranks. Was being a woman ever an issue?
Well, what I tried to do with it was use it as an advantage. It was very, very interesting. In the early days, there were very few women investment bankers. I can tell you that at Oracle, being a woman is never an issue. It's just, and that is really kudos to Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison wants the best possible idea to come from anyone and anywhere. And being a woman, being anything, as long as we're getting the best idea, the best answer, he's never cared where that came from. And we've tried to put that through the entire company. I will tell you that my years on Wall Street, there might have been situations where I wasn't the most likely choice for something. Not sure being a woman had something to do with it, but we'll never know. We're talking about decades ago. I've tried to use it as an advantage. I've tried to listen and learn and understand from the people I'm working with. And I've found that collaborating and being open to a lot of ideas, man, woman, child, we'll take it. And that's kind of in my head. And quite a bit of my direct management team are actually women and have been for years.
Do you have a mentor or some, or mentees? Is this something that's important in your mind?
Well, listen, I'm sure Larry would not think he's my mentor, but he is. I've learned enormously from him all these years. His open mind, his mission focus, his don't do what everybody else is doing, as in that's not a good answer, do the right thing, all of this. And of course, my parents, there is nothing I cannot learn, about the way to look at the world from my mother and my father. They are my true mentors. And yeah, I have folks that I have mentees who I try to guide along. And of course, I teach a course at the Stanford Business School where pretty much I spend the entire time telling them stories and trying to help them think about important career decisions and business decisions they're going to make over their future career. And that's kind of one of the ways I try to give back is to spend the time with them. And many of them I'm still in touch with. So, and I'm very proud of them, may I say. And of course, I've got my two sons who I'm sure they don't think they're mine and their dad's mentees, but we're trying to stick in a little wisdom in there every once in a while.
I think our kids are also an inspiration, man, on many occasions. The way they look and think.
That's for sure.
You know, when we spoke before, you told me how happy you are that they're close to you now with the pandemic. And I'm thinking about all the moms with the young kids. Do you find yourself more effective or less effective now?
Well, I can tell you one thing. I'm working all the time. And so because there's...
Yeah, I don't think that's new, knowing that this is not new.
No, but there's like no borders, right? There's nowhere else I could be. You know, we're here in Santa Clara County. We're one of the early hotspots, and we're sheltered in place here. And so, and it's been months actually. And so we're always available. There are good things about it in that our customers are all pretty much locked down too. And so we're spending a lot of time with them and of course, our other employees. We did find, by the way, that our technical people are actually anywhere from 5 to 15% more productive. We'll see, in at least measuring code check-in. Whether the code is good or not, we'll find out. We continue to find out, but we do see quite a lot of productivity. But that's because I want to remind you, there's nowhere else we can be. So
that's true. I mean, it's like in a way, it's like a lab. You take the kids to school, that helps. You add other distraction, that's not going to help. That's true. They're like could go either way.
Yeah.
So we're here for the Friends of IDF event, which is a great organization, and I want to speak a little bit about philanthropy. Because this is a great organization. I know you're a philanthropist, and I know you have many goals in mind. Always been a great friend to the Friends of the IDF, like a friend of a friend of the IDF. What is important to you when it comes to philanthropy?
Well, first of all, there are so many, many good causes, and you can give here and there to many good causes. But I think it's very important to connect with your philanthropy in a way that you focus on the things that make a difference to you. For my whole family, Israel was so critical to everything. You know, our early lives, our families, the existence of Israel, the safety that it gives, the important relationship between the United States and Israel. So for us, Israel, absolutely critical. Israel is, of course, the country that defends itself and by itself, not with US troops inside. This is a very, very unique situation. And so everything around that, very important to us. And of course, as the education, very critical as another thing that's very important to us, because I learned, and and this is really children of Holocaust survivors understand that the one thing they can't take away from you is what's in your head, is your education. And so these things are important. And so whenever I can tie Israel and education, I do that also.
Nice. And how did your philanthropy change with the COVID-19 situation?
So what I thought was very important was to actually speed up the donations and speed up the commitments. And I'll tell you why. Because there are a number of people who would be giving, but they're not financially able right now. So I think it's very important for those people who feel that they can give now, that they should give, they should speed up their donations to make up for the fact that some folks during this COVID crisis have not, may not be able to give their regular amounts. So I thought for us who can do our philanthropy and are able to do that, we should do it as quickly as possible. As I said, in some cases, speeding it up to make up for others who can't.
That's amazing. Well, thank you. I'm proud to support the Friends of IDF and to have you as a fellow supporter. We ran out of time. Time flies when you're having fun. So thank you for being with us today, Safra.
Thank you. Thanks.
So as we know all too well, the COVID-19 pandemic has caused economic hardships for millions of people all over the world. The Friends of IDF continues to stand with the soldiers of Israel during this difficult time to help ease their lofty burdens. Through Friends of IDF's Dignity Program, soldiers in need of financial assistance can breathe a little easier, knowing that their day-to-day essentials are cared for. Together, we can make sure that every soldier has a bed to sleep on when returning home and the means to put food on the table. I hope you'll choose to join me in continuing to embrace and support our soldiers during this difficult time, as they look out for Israel both on the front lines and on the home front. To make an everlasting difference in the lives of the soldiers of Israel, please scroll down on your screen to donate to the Dignity Program or any of the Friends of IDF's vital well-being programs. And thank you all of you who took the time to be with us today. We hope you found this event empowering and informative, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.